Number one online radio station based in Japan. Hi, my name is The Laboratory, an international flutist from Ghana. I urge you all to listen to Jafric Radio station based in Japan. Jafric Radio, radio mu papa. Jafric Radio, radio mu kiko. Jafric Radio, yeah mamu kasi bopa. Jafric Radio. Jafric Radio, yeah mamu kasi papa. Jafric Radio, yeah mamu adiswa papa. Jafric Radio, radio, Jafric Radio. Jafric Radio, your number one online radio station based in Japan. Jafric Radio, radio mukiko. Jafric Radio, yeah mamu.
Welcome to Maximum Impact with Jay Cameron. I'm still here in Accra, Ghana, and I'm having some of the most fascinating conversations as we bridge the gap between Africa and the African diaspora. And I could not come to Ghana and not sit down and interview this gentleman right here. We've actually interviewed by way of Zoom previously, but now we're having a sit-down conversation. And I'm telling you, you're going to want to watch every minute of this because we're going to unpack so much. So I'm talking to Kwabena Obeng Darko. And is there a title? What's your official title?
Obeng Darko. Kwabena Obeng Darko.
It's not doctor?
No, Kwabena Obeng Darko.
Not Reverend Doctor.
No.
Not Bishop. Nothing. No. Okay.
Obeng Darko.
Obeng Darko. So we're here, and again, we're going to have this conversation. It's much needed, and I firmly believe that when we begin to have discussions like this, it helps us to understand each other more, and that's how we bridge the gap. We'll discover that we have more in common than we have differences. Now, before we get this conversation started, is there anything off the table? Is there something that you don't want me to talk about?
No, not at all.
Okay, so you're ready for this?
Yes, sir.
All right, I know he is. I know, and that's one of the reasons why we wanted to make sure that he was here. All right, I have traveled extensively throughout the continent.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of conversations, but you are one of very few who are willing to have open, honest conversations about what's going on and then have tangible solutions. Because I hear some people who complain, but they don't necessarily have the solutions in place. And I know that you've written several books, and we'll talk about your books. You're an entrepreneur. You have retail establishments here in the greater Accra area. We'll talk about that also. But for me, I've worked in the community for more than 25 years in the Washington D.C. metropolitan area in America. And I just believe in offering solutions. You know, if I see a problem, I'm not going to complain. I'm going to offer a solution. So what are some things, some challenges that you've seen here in Ghana in particular? And then we'll talk about some of the solutions.
All right. Jay, thank you very much. And it's an honor to meet you again.
Yes, in person.
We met in the spirit. And
now we're in the physical.
Yeah, in the physical. And thank you for what you're doing. We learn a lot from your videos, your teachings. And I must say, if there are topics that I want to learn, I look up to you.
Oh, wow.
And I take a lot of lessons.
Well, thank you.
You can't change a man's life until you change what.
This is Jafric Radio.
And you can also control people by what you let them know. And as Africans, I mean, that's a battle that we are up to, and we've been up to for the last 500 years.
And that's continent-wide.
Yes, continent. And even beyond the continent, it's the same.
Yes.
You know, so the education is very key. And you should not take it lightly, what you are, resolving in the minds of people. A person can take his life just based on a particular thought. And a person can be free by the same thought. You know, nothing is seen without the word. You know, if you want to go a Christian, knowledge is key. Knowledge is light. Knowledge can liberate a man. You know, it can make a prisoner feel like he's free.
Oh, wow.
The way he processes the knowledge that comes to you. So yes.
So is that one of the challenges that you've seen as far as how people think?
Yes, our education is a trouble.
So what's the trouble about the education?
You know, Ghana had independence in 1957. If you look at when they sat down to chop Africa into pieces, that was just about 100 years from the time that we had independence. We knew how we were as a people. You know, the other day I was talking to an elderly woman, and she said that their time, before there was this kind of school, if you were a man that you were going to marry, they had a system that they train you.
Really?
You had to have the way you make income, and the woman would have to know how to cook, how to take care of the home. Now, when they introduced this kind of education, that one that we knew was left. You know, so the African, like me, you go to school, the content that you're given in the school is based on European culture.
So this is
very
the
large extent.
This is the European educational
That's
system
right.
to kind of help everybody understand that that's what, when you refer to
This is Jafric Radio.
In the Berlin Conference in 1885, and a lot of people don't know that the countries in Africa, the borders of the countries, were basically European constructs.
Yeah, they were created. Ghana's borders were, were created by who? By the Europeans.
Right, by the British, right?
Yeah. And whenever you talk about this, history is the foundation of education. So if you don't know history, it does not matter whether you're a professor, engineer, doctor, teacher, officer, whatever. You could be a president of a country. If the history is not right, whatever education you've been given is wrong. And it could be seen by the results. You know, you can debate it, but let's look at the results. You can know a good fruit or a good tree.
A lot of fruit that it bears.
That's right. And so you see a lot of young Africans complaining about what is happening on the continent. We are not happy with the results. So let's look at what is causing this. And I'm saying that the education is part of it.
Well, they will say, well, it's the African governments.
Yes, of course. They are scapegoats.
Okay. So the government is a scapegoat.
Yes, they're a scapegoat.
Explain that.
Okay. So the other day I was talking to somebody, and he was talking about Chinese education. And he said that in the Chinese education, he stayed in China, they train you, the Chinese, that no other people are better than you. And your history goes beyond 5,000 years.
Okay.
And then I asked him, how about this Einstein and Newton? And I said, no, they tell them that these are just individuals who discovered something, but they are not the standard. And that you can go any standard that you want. That's the Chinese. And if you're Chinese, look at the product that you can bring. Now, when I went to school, the standard was I did engineering, first degree, I did engineering, second degree.
Okay.
So systems engineering, second degree. If you go to engineering school, all the heroes in the books are Europeans.
Really?
And they are the standard. You actually bring everything you know against the formula. I was not taught that this is just one individual and you can refute or refuse or accept whatever he has done. They give us, especially Americans, they give us all the creation of America. And then when it comes to us as Africans, they give us all, and most Africans, the ones who are product of this kind of education, will debate this all the time. And then we are very much comfortable trying to accuse ourselves. The first one is what? Is corruption. Our leaders are corrupt.
Right.
You don't think about the people. Without knowing that if you want to develop a people, the training of the leader is key, and the training that you give to the people are key. The identity that the people have of themselves is key. And you cannot give them proper identity when you don't constructively train them. You know, so if there's no structure that is training these people, then once in a while they will win, but a lot of the times they will fail. And that's what we have. So look at education. It's there. I mean, nobody should tell us that it's not European. It's European.
It's a European.
Because there were systems that we knew and we had that worked for thousands of years. But once the Europeans said that, okay, we came here, you're a colony, we give you independence. When Kwame Nkrumah took that, what kind of education did Nkrumah give us? What kind of government structure did Nkrumah have? Did he have even the right to say that we will not go for party politics and democracy? Some people compare us to, say, Arabs. Do they practice the same thing that we practice? If you have to change all these guys every 4 years, what kind of money do you have? They say that the Americans practice democracy, but the Americans went everywhere for almost 300 years. They had a lot of people who worked for them for free for years, mainly from the Africans. You look at the Europeans as well. If you were to calculate the tons of gold that they stole from the Mokos, that is a backbone of the economy. Now, how do you compare such economy and the systems that you run this government with? with a country like Ghana or Nigeria, where we don't have these resources. You have not gone to anywhere to take people's resources. And you say that run this kind of democracy, run this kind of education, run this kind of head structure, run this kind of development.
Even in Tanzania, when you look at what they're doing with the Maasai and moving them off of indigenous lands,
That's right.
so they can make more way for more tourism and more things that people can. So they're even evicting to this day, still evicting the indigenous and altering.
Because the guys who are leading this, who educated them.
Of course.
And so whatever we see around, like where we are now, whatever they know is what they put.
Well, I'll never forget when I heard the president of Sierra Leone, and he said he wanted Sierra Leone to be the Athens of West Africa. And I was like, well, why Athens? Why can't it be the
Kemet?
The Kemet, or just be the Sierra Leone of West Africa?
That's right.
Which is brilliant within and of itself. Why do they have to? Why is a European?
Why the European are the standard?
Why the idolization of European standards so important? Now, here's a question I have for you, and we'll circle back to some of this. This is a question I wonder: Do in Ghana, and Ghana is a country out of 54, 55 within Africa. So Africa is not like one big country; it's a big landmass. But because of what happened with the Berlin Conference and the carving out of the borders, they now have different countries based upon, in many cases, these European systems. But in Ghana, do Ghanaians idolize white people?
A lot.
Okay.
A lot. I was born a Catholic. My mother took me to Catholic Church. And if they had to baptize you, they would have to give you another name. Not my name, Kwabna.
Really?
Yes.
So they make you change your name into
another name if you had to.
What kind of name would it be?
It could be maybe they say the Bible name, so maybe John. So that's why you can see a lot of John,
Isaiah.
That's right.
Okay.
And they say that that's a Christian name. So my name Kwabna, you would not.
This is Jafric Radio.
Change, maybe. Then you go to church, you see the color of Jesus is white. The angels are white. Mary is white, and then they show you the devil, and it's black. Now, this is somebody. Compare the same thing to a Chinese boy who's not going to school to see his name change, or even his language. If I'm speaking P, I go to school, then I have to speak what? English. They would have to teach me in English. So, which means that everything that I knew before I went to school, or if my grandmother knew something I could not speak P, all that wisdom I will not have access to. Okay, so you have to deal with language, which is basically your identity.
Yes.
Your name, which they deal with this.
Yes.
And then the God that they present to you is not like you. So when the African grows, what else do you expect? The European is God.
But you know, that's the similarity that we have, because like my name is as European as it gets. J.
Yeah.
That is Jay. It's not short for anything else. That's my name. That's the name my mother gave me. But I don't know anything else. I don't know any other culture. You know, I'm Black American, which is a hybrid of cultures that have morphed into what we, you know, like an ethnic group, if you will. But when you're talking about this, it seems like what the intention was to strip the identity. So in order to extract what would be needed, whether it be the labor, the ingenuity, the intelligence, to continue to build whatever was going on. I mean, because that's what I'm hearing in it. But a lot of people, because you mentioned Catholicism, and I find that Catholicism is rampant everywhere. South America, Africa, America, in Europe, wherever you want to go, it's rampant. But most people don't know the history, because the Pope of that particular institution just apologized to indigenous people.
But this is Jafric
order
Radio.
that they had to give for them to go and take the people.
Yeah, it's like he just apologized for it, but yet there are people who still sit under this who look like me and you, and who would swear by it. Like you said, there would be people who would argue for it. And I guess I see that on so many different levels. There are people who will argue for the educational system. They'll say you're educated if you're educated by them, but you're uneducated if you do indigenous practices.
That's right. You're not.
You're uneducated. You're not. And I, in one sense, I'm all for all kinds of education. I'm not like monolithic with education, but when one dismisses their own brilliance for the exchanging of to be like someone else. Wow. I mean, we do it in America. The same way you talk about.
If you have wealth and I want to come for it, I would have to use gun.
Yes.
I would have to make you believe that whatever you have is nothing. And in order for me to do that, I would have to have you believe something.
So you got to get the mind first.
That's right. And that is what they have done. So look at the wealth of Africa now. It's in whose hands?
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, let's look at it. The companies that have all this gold, diamond, timber, the retail shops in our country, who owns them?
But everybody's independent.
That's a facade. That's not
Well,
true.
when I said it, they wanted to come for me. When I said, I'm looking at it because I know what we deal with in America. I said, oh no, this is no independence, because you go to the Francophone countries and France still controls the currency.
Yeah.
The people still speak French.
French, yeah.
Now, not that they don't speak their native languages also, but I've encountered melanated brown people in Francophone countries who've never been to France, but will say they're French. So those things, I'm looking at this just as a common sense. I'm just looking with my own two eyes saying, you're not French. First and foremost,
They're French.
But in their mind, they're French. So they have embraced that culture, that mentality, all of that. Even this is something I noticed in Francophone countries I didn't see in Anglophone countries. The smoking of cigarettes.
Okay, they smoke a lot.
So in the
This is
Francophone
Jafric
countries,
Radio.
I would see everybody, the black people, brown people, going for it. I mean, now, not that they don't do that in Anglophone countries, but I saw it as a part of the cultural norm, which is a cultural norm that you see in France for many people. So I guess when you say it, I'm just making sure that I'm not missing it, because I would see these things, but then when I hear you repeat them, I'm like, okay.
I had to study.
Okay.
And there's something about this kind of education that you have been given in school.
So who do they fight for?
They don't fight for the ordinary citizen. They fight for the people or the cultures that look like those who train them. You know? Yes, I mean, just look at it. Ask any young man, who do you think the officials of the country fight for? Who do they protect?
But they're independent though.
Yes, they will say, that's something that looks like. If you're independent, then you must be in charge of your finances. You must be in charge of the wealth that you have as a people. You must be in charge of your education. You must be in charge even of your religion. Your young men must have hope in your country. But if you do any study now, maybe 70, 80, 90% of the young men would rather take American visa and move out of here than to live here. Are the people hopeful? Do they believe that they can be great in where they are? Do they believe that?
I just had that conversation in the previous interview with Mavis, and I was at an establishment, and the guy was like basically the security, and he was like, "Hey, I want to trade places with you.
Yeah.
And you stay here in Ghana,
And I'll go to
America."
Yes.
And I was like, wow. I was like, he couldn't even see what he has in front of him. He was, and then when I went to renew my passport here in Ghana, and the line for the U.S. visa,
Yes.
I could not believe. I was like, wow. But then here's the argument people in America would have. Well, America's so great. America's great because everybody wants to come here. So few people are leaving. And I'm thinking to myself how ignorant of a statement that is. I mean, the sheer ignorance of it, without even understanding what America was founded and built on.
That's right.
What it stole.
Yep.
And perhaps some of these people are coming to reclaim what was stolen. Because when you think about it, it's like, okay, yeah, you have all of this so-called development, all these different things, but they're not coming because it's great. It's because America and other players stole the resources from the places they're running from.
If that is the psyche, then fine.
That's
But
the
if
psyche.
the psyche is for you to think that you have nothing in Ghana, nothing in Nigeria, you don't see your future here, so you must run away, then we have to question that again. Because almost everybody else wants to come here, and they come here to build businesses.
Come to Ghana.
Yes.
Yeah.
Look at the Chinese here. He comes with Chalewate.
That's what I'm
He has
saying.
nothing in his pocket. Next minute, he owns a lot of companies.
But that's what I'm
He's
saying.
He's employing a lot of people.
But think about
It
that.
matters what the people know. It matters
The
what the
knowledge
people
base.
have been conditioned with. And I'm saying that we all have to re-educate ourselves.
How does someone re-educate themselves? Because that's not easy. At first, I'm sure you have to have a desire to want to educate yourself.
Okay, I traveled. I've been to some few places.
Okay.
I didn't like it. And when you say it, the young men will say that you don't, you're lying. But I said, no, it's not, I'm lying. I desire that I should have freedom. And I should do something that I think this one life that I have, I'll be proud of. And I did not just want to work for money, but I wanted to do something with it.
Yes.
And it did not just start. I started to read a lot on finance, on business, on history. And so I had a certain understanding of the world and what I could become. So a lot of our people would go to some of these countries, and basically the reason is what? Is to work for money.
Got it.
And I saw that if you really want to be rich, it's not just the paycheck.
Yes.
It's something beyond money. The most wealthy in this world don't just work for salary.
Yeah.
There's the way they understand money, and there's the way they understand the world, and there's the way they understand how to pick an idea and turn it into economic value.
And then on top of that, it may even be what they perceive as wealth. Because sometimes the wealthiest people aren't even pursuing the money.
That's right.
Sometimes they're just pursuing whatever. I'll give you a good example. Like for me, and I'm not the wealthiest person or anything like that, but meaning that what I used to perceive as wealth before has changed as I started traveling.
Okay.
So now my wealth comes by way of experiences. But what I now do is generate income so that I can have the experiences. And so that leads to what some would perceive as wealth.
Okay.
So it's that type of thing that, again, a lot if people are chasing money, then it seems like they could be, just chasing on that kind of gerbil wheel, hamster wheel. But I mean, you raise a very valid point with that. As people are educating themselves or re-educating themselves, how do we reach people on the continent of Africa? And I'm using it continent-wide, to help them see what's really going on. Because I've had people argue me down. I was in Kenya and I was doing an interview, and the people thought that I was giving the British credit for everything, and I wasn't giving the British credit for everything. They were like, well, the British, we ran the British out of here, the British left, the British are gone. And I'm looking around and said, the British, I can just look and see.
They are present.
They are very present. They are lockstep in. So what I saw now, there were others who came in and said, nah, we see the British here. We know they're here. And not just the British, but the Chinese and the Americans and all these other players, we know they're here. So there were those Kenyans who saw it. But then there was another block of Kenyans who were under this denial. And I see it in Ghana too. Yeah. Everywhere I go, it's in America. Yeah. You try to tell black folks this is what's going on. Oh, no. I can't say no. So it's not just something pertaining to Kenya, it's just pertaining to how people have been trained in a particular mindset. How do we break through that for those who are reachable? Because there's some people who just aren't reachable. They're just going to be what they're going to be. But for those who are reachable, how do we break through that wall of miseducation?
Okay, I would say the internet is a game changer.
Okay.
It's a game changer, whether it's text, video, or audio.
Okay.
Like, there were things that I watched on your channel that I would never have had maybe 30 years ago or 20 years ago. So the internet is a wealth of knowledge. You can easily Google the history of Africa, educate yourself, and see the value.
How does someone know what's accurate history? Because there's so much content. I mean, there are black people in America saying they aren't African, and you look at them, they look like they're straight from Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa. Oh no, I'm not African. So you have that crowd. So how does someone?
This is Jafric Radio.
Pick up that? How does someone decipher this is accurate information?
Actually, anything against the Europeans and what they have said on Africa.
Okay.
Anything opposite that.
Anything opposite.
Anything that they have said on us, whether it's accurate or not, because there's a lot of junk that we have consumed.
Yes.
So
yes.
It will not matter to me.
Got it.
Even if it's junk and it's telling me that get up, do something, you're worth something.
Yes.
You're worthy.
Yes.
You can do it. You come from a strong heritage.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be accurate because there's a lot of lies that they have told.
There's a whole lot of lies
that we have consumed that we didn't challenge.
And then we tell ourselves
and
too. Yeah.
And so when you see it, you see it.
Okay.
It's like a puzzle. once you start the right one,
Yeah. It's like
trying
One
to
Piece.
untie something, once you start to know, to follow, you have something within you as a human being that will speak to you that this one is right. If you so desire.
Right.
And you can see the trend, the patterns to say that. If somebody is trying to tell you all the time that you are nothing, you're worth nothing, and you want to believe that, but then you reach something that says that no, you come from a great heritage, and you say that no, it's not true. We have to be the ones that we have to blame. You know, Africa is always telling you, blame yourself. We are the victims. We have to take charge. Say that you cannot take charge. One particular example is, the Africans like pulling themselves down.
Okay.
You have ever heard it?
I hear it in America all the time about us.
And they said it's the crab.
Yes.
Some people will even go to the extent of saying the black crab.
Yes.
Put them in a bucket.
Yes.
And they will start to put themselves down.
I've
But
heard
the
it.
question is that what are they doing in the bucket? Naturally, the crab does not have to be in the bucket.
But that's what they tell us in America. They say, all them Africans sold us into slavery. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, first of all, like, somebody had to buy them. If that's the narrative,
If you're selling.
if someone was sold, who bought?
That's right.
And do they get a pass too? Do they get off the hook? So they're like, I don't want to go to Africa because them Africans sold us into slavery. And I'm saying, but yet you go to Europe with no question. You'll go to Paris and take a picture in front of the Eiffel Tower.
Africans who sold you.
But you won't even go to Africa. But the same people who bought. But you'll want to stay in a place, in a land, in a country of people who bought you, abused you, intentionally went down and stripped everything from you, but you'll hold an affection for them. That's the same thing that I've seen
Here.
on the continent. Yeah, right.
It's conditioning. They had to hide a lot of the evidences. Even if you say that the Africans sold them, did we build a ship that came here?
Well, that's it.
Did we come up with all the chains?
Yeah.
There were tribes that were powerful, and there were tribes that were not so much powerful.
Yeah.
If the Africans sold them, it was trade, isn't it? So where is the money in Africa? You said that these people sold a lot of people over these years. No problem. So they sold millions.
Yeah,
The
millions.
Africans must be rich. Then on the other hand, you tell the Africans that they are poor. I'm trying to look for it. So if they really sold the people and you pay them fairly, then they should not be poor.
Well, fairly. Now that leads to another topic then, because they've never done anything fairly. I mean, if we look at the natural resources, we can look at natural resources, human resources or natural resources. Gold is a natural resource, rubber, bauxite, uranium, copper, oil. To this day, they still don't pay.
Don't pay the fair value.
Because if they paid Africa, the continent, the worth of the natural resources, then Africa would be looking like, you're right.
We'll be like them.
Yes.
The kingdom that you say that is maybe big is the Ashanti kingdom.
Okay.
It became strong in the middle of the 70s. But the Europeans had been here from 40s.
Right.
Over 200 years. Who was selling them? They accuse the Ashantis of selling slaves.
Yeah,
At one point were they that powerful?
That's the thing, though. It's
See?
yeah.
So this was an invasion. We need to study it. I'm not saying that the Africans should be left.
Right. Not saying that things didn't
But
happen. Right.
the accusation is no more than 10%.
And I think on many levels, most people where I come from, they don't understand the complexity of Africa ethnic conflicts that were just naturally occurring. They don't understand that. So they kind of take it, they look at it through the context of a Black American mind. My brother, my sister, black, white.
So you thought that we were relating
right.
on skin
And they thought on skin color and relating as brothers and sisters. So for us, they don't even realize that the whole black-white thing is a European construct. There was a person who left a comment on a video on my channel, and they talked about how Africans, always trying to identify as something else. They want to identify as Hebrew or want to identify as, they went down this whole thing, and then they said the black race. And they didn't realize within that whole comment that when they said the black race, that was just another identifier that the Europeans had given. As they were complaining about us trying to take on all these European identities, they identified themselves as with the European identity marker, and so that's what I'm saying. For many of us, the confusion is so deep. But I think with these types of conversations, what happens is that we're forced to pause for a second, because in America, We're fighting for equal rights and to get rid of racism. And a lot of times what these systems do is they will manipulate conflicts as a distraction. They'll say, we want you to be focused on this so we can continue to still take the resources, just like what they do here on the continent. They'll manipulate an ethnic conflict between two rival ethnic groups, fund one with the arms, fund the other with the arms. They're fighting each other. Meanwhile, they're digging a mine, extracting everything. They got a drill going in the ground, getting more oil. They're now luring people away from the continent, the so-called best and the brightest, luring them away with these lotteries and all this other kind of stuff, so they never want to return. And it's like they just refine this thing. It's like if you go to early chapters in a book, and you see how they did it maybe 300-400 years ago. And then as it progresses, oh, we've refined this a little bit better, and we'll make it where the people will now sabotage themselves. Oh, we've conditioned them, to your point. We've conditioned them to the point where they really don't want
This is Jafric Radio.
Original culture and don't even want to connect with it. Now, do you see it on that level here in Ghana?
Yes, it's there. Ask the gentleman here. I'll tell you. And a lot of them are not even aware. If you go to school and they're teaching history, where they really pay attention to is our interaction with the European and when they came. As if we were not a people.
As if you were not.
We never existed.
Wow.
Our civilization, even the history teacher is saying the same thing. I think there's a difference between African consciousness and understanding African culture. A lot of Africans may be African, may be conscious, may be cultural. But in terms of the data to defute or refute what the Europeans and the errors that they have promulgated, very few Africans have that. And it has to be a history that goes beyond thousands of years before they came. If you don't study that, then you see you have the kente, you beat the drum,
right,
and you have the African name, but you still give the contract to the Chinese. You still give the intelligence to the European, and you still come back and condemn your people. And that's why you can still see a chief. He dressed in all those, and he still be looking for some European small boy to come and sink borehole for them, because the consciousness goes beyond the culture. So a lot of us, the culture is what we are aware, but the consciousness that will make you wake up to say that no, we are human beings. We deserve better. We deserve better, and we have to fight for ourselves. And we must be the ones in charge of our economy. And if someone has to come in, no problem. But when you come in, you should see a lot of our people wealthy. That I don't see most Africans have.
Wow.
Because of the words of history. And that's what the Chinese are saying, that our history is beyond 5,000. So don't tell us just the 50 years ago that we had independence. That is just an interjection from some people. You cannot define yourself that way and still think that you will develop. And that's a betting. You cannot let all your education center on that. The way you practice business center on that. The way you practice your laws center on that. The way you even practice your health center on that. The way you marry center on that. And then you're asking questions, why are you not developing? You cannot develop because you're not European. So the culture must evolve. You educate the people by the culture that they have. And you must, as they change in population, technology, as they get more information, you build on that. The mango seed cannot be orange. When we're trying to say change the mango seed into orange, and we're asking why is it not doing it?
And it creates frustration.
All great people, all great civilizations are built on the culture, on the identity.
And if you strip the identity
and you try to say that, let me put this jacket on you.
Yes.
It won't work. And obviously it's not working.
And that's the hybrid of European imperialism.
Yes. And wherever they went, they introduced their religion, they introduced their laws. Look at them well.
But
I find it very difficult.
But it's so entrenched in America, and it's so entrenched in Africa, especially among brown people. When you talk about it, the introduction of the religion, and this is something that I've asked people, and I spent 25 years in that world. It's in all of my interviews, I talk about it. But as I began to learn more about the history that they withheld, I started asking questions that theologians couldn't answer, Black historians couldn't answer, because they had not traveled extensively enough. They've just read a few books here and there, but yet they were experts. Yet they were deemed to be experts. They have a couple letters behind their names. And then when I started traveling and seeing that the story is very different than anything that they're teaching us on those, especially when they have systems in place to teach us, brown people. Those systems would be void of information that would be vital
To you.
for us to know, to one, begin the identity process. And so as I started traveling and I could start seeing, it's like there was a empowerment that came over to say, wait a minute, I'm not gonna let these people educate me. I had to tear down
That's right.
everything I learned and now rebuilding it. But then I'm looking at people they're looking at me like I'm crazy.
Yeah.
I'm looking at them like, you just don't know. You just don't know. But to hear you say this, and I think this is a part that why I love having these conversations with you, is because when people are able to get that identity piece under control and not be doing it from a desperation standpoint or anything, just saying, I just want to understand a little bit more about me, but then also the history, the broader historical context. It just does something that's so liberating. And that's what I want for more people in the African diaspora, whether it be here on the continent or other places. When the internet is another resource, but what should, say, a young person who's coming out there, been educated in this system, they've gone to university, they can't find the job that was supposedly promised. What does that person do at this point?
Okay, so I use myself as an example.
All right.
We've been able to build, retail shops. We started with our own resources,
Okay.
which is virtually zero.
Oh, I was going to ask you where you get the resources from. That's why I was like, hey, the resources. I said, let me find out where these resources from.
We've been able to build our own real estate development company. We did a lot of construction work, engineering works. From the fact that we had a conviction that there was no way to make it that year. And so we said that this is where we want to be successful. It's either it works or it doesn't work.
Right.
But we closed that mind that I should move to Togo, or I should move to America, or I should move to Canada. We said that this is where it is.
Okay, so to move to Togo, you got to throw whatever. I didn't see Togo coming. I was like, move to Togo. What Togo got going on? Okay.
We wanted to be successful in Ghana.
Okay.
And which means that we were not looking for visa. We were not looking at all the negativity. Because it's very difficult for you to be successful anywhere that you don't believe in, and anywhere that the pessimism is so high.
Yeah.
And wherever you see pessimism and negativity through the roof, it means that the people are not identified. So one of the things that you see, that the moment you start to re-educate yourself, you see that you start to have confidence.
Okay.
Confidence is what you need to create the future that you want. The trust in yourself and in your people.
How do you develop the confidence though? Because someone can
Because
hear.
of the identity.
Oh, okay.
It comes from just as you bring people here, and they come to Ghana after a week, they are different people.
They are.
And I've seen a lot of them break down.
Yeah.
It's a healing process.
Yes.
Why did it happen? It's something that is working within them that you may not even be able to explain. So it's the same thing. Once you get the data to say that I'm worth it, I'm somebody, that one, it starts to work.
So how do we get that to the people? How do we get that information?
Question everything that they have taught you in school. Everything that the Europeans have taught you. And stop comparing Ghana to America. It's a different world.
Very different world.
Different structures.
Different structures.
I don't know how many people in America will be able to buy their own houses if they didn't have credit.
Oh, it wouldn't happen.
Or how many of them would be able to go to school if they didn't have loans?
That's right.
And how many of them would be able to build businesses if they didn't have all these venture people?
Yeah.
And what is the interest rate there? Here, if you want to start a business, that is not the approach that you use.
Right. So you're not going to take out a bunch of loans.
Don't use the MBA. A lot of your customers will not have credit card. They have money that they have worked for that they have to use to pay. So you really have to shut down, so to say. If you want to pick some principles, yeah, of course, there are human beings, there will be some common principles. But a lot of the things that will work, you have to say that I'm going to do opposite what is good. So
it's two different systems and two different cultures.
Yes.
So when you, because America is a debt culture, we are encouraged to leverage.
Yeah.
And that is, the term we use is called using other people's money, which can work, and it could lead to rapid wealth growth, depending on if you understand how to do it. But you can also do things like that here. Like if you know, I'll give you a good example. If you look at what the exchange rate is for the US dollar to the Ghanaian cedi right now, I think it's like 8.4, which is I know people are like, what is going on? But let's say, for example, someone coming from America, you have $10,000 and you convert that. Now you have 84,000 Ghana cedis. Now at that point, because of the exchange rate, and if you work on the local system, you could now expand. You know, there are a lot of things you can do. I'm just saying that from the perspective of where I come from in America. But when you talk about, basically it was like all or nothing here in Ghana. Understanding that, you know, what you need to have a cash system and don't count on that credit card working, you know, being in this Ghanaian system. It's like you understood it and mastered it, and you were determined to do it because you had the confidence to own who you are.
Yes.
And to say, I'm gonna make it work in a place, because I see and I hear so many people, young people, it's almost kind of like the white saviors thing. I got to get to America because that's what, you know, that's what the development, they say development, but that's European development. That's white development. When there's development in many of the different villages and the cultural constructs that are here in Ghana. So it's like, dismiss what you have, come for what we have.
Because they've been conditioned to don't trust themselves, don't respect what they have, don't appreciate what they have. You know, it's training.
No, that's how, we do it
So
in
once
America.
we stress that off, okay, the other thing you have to ask yourself is that what are you going to do to change something that you don't like here? It should be beyond that, I just want food. What do I have to do something? That's the mindset that we use to build business.
You had mentioned, I did an interview with a gentleman, he was selling
On the street.
On the street,
Yes.
here in Accra. And you mentioned how that resonated with you from the standpoint of him not being able to see what he actually had.
Yeah.
Touch on that a little bit.
Because he said that he was selling on the street and was able to take care of his family
Yes,
and sent one of his brothers to school, university.
yes.
And he still didn't have value for that. And he probably will ask you to take him to America.
He really, yeah, a lot of people would break their neck if they had a slave ship.
That is something that we don't see. We don't see the worth we have as Africans.
So he didn't see the value in his being able to provide and send someone to school as being valuable. But
This is Jafric Radio.
He didn't do that with it.
Right.
He worked on the street.
And how
He
many?
did not even value that. But that's how any business starts.
Yeah,
You start with anything.
yeah.
And if you get enough knowledge, you'll be able to build on it. But the same person, when you're telling him that this is something magical that you're doing, they say that you don't know what you're talking about. If I get to America, life is very easy. If I get to England, life is very easy.
And we're sitting there
It's
looking
the
at that.
movie.
Right.
It's the movie. You know,
Right.
people believe. And it's part of it is, I mean, almost everything that you have as an African has been demonized.
Yes.
So we really have to also understand how our people see themselves. And it takes a while for us to lift ourselves up.
But you know, when I was in Tanzania last week, I had an interesting conversation with some gentlemen, and they talked about what they saw on television and how they saw Black Americans as being angry, cussing, fighting, you know, just very violent people.
Yeah.
And so, and even when we were
This is
out
Jafric
in
Radio.
we were out in the local area, and a gentleman, he saw me, and I guess he recognized that I might be from America or something like that. And so he just came walking by, cussing and everything, MF, this, that, and the other, and just kind of walking through. And what I explained to them, I said, what they tell us about you is that you all are corrupt, sick,
That's right.
you know, scammers, disease, ignorant. And I said, and then what they tell you about us is that the same thing, but just in a different way. And I said, who controls the media? Who's controlling the entertainment? Who's funding this stuff to fund these narratives? I was watching an interview, and I'm gonna do a talk about this, about Smokey Robinson. And he's a legendary singer, songwriter, one of the best songwriters in the history of R&B music in America. But he's been on this rant about how he's not African and he never wants to visit Africa, and he's, you know, he can't understand why people are doing it. I mean, I'm gonna do a full breakdown video on what Smokey's smoking. And so, but you have all of these people in America who feel this way based upon what they've seen.
That's right.
He has not come to see for himself.
But he's making a judgment on it.
But he's a full-throated, passionate, angry judgment about a land he's never been to. And proud to say, I've never been there and I won't go there. And so that tells you, I said, how serious can someone take a person like that? Because if you feel so strongly,
Go and see it.
go see it. But then if somebody said that about him, I don't even want to know that Black American singer who's singing all these songs and all these years. I don't want to know anything about him because, you know, clearly the white man got him or something like that. You know, he would be like saying, well, no, you don't even know me. You don't know my music. How can you form that judgment about me?
know me,
You
but
don't, but you have formed a
Isn't it
judgment.
the same thing as the young man here who thinks that he's never been to America, he's never been to any of these places, but he still thinks that it's heaven.
He's laying in bed
he's in
tonight.
hell.
Right, exactly. Without being able to see the heaven. Then without even being able to see, do you see all of us coming over here?
That's right.
Do you see all of us breaking down
When you come.
when we come?
So that if there is nothing here,
Then why would we even want to come back? Why would we even see the value in this place if there's nothing here? That's what clicked for me. I felt so robbed when I set foot here for the first time in 2018. I said, someone has played with my mind my entire life.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here and I'm looking, I said, you can grow anything here year round. There's no food shortages. I'm saying, well, what were they telling me? Okay, I can deal with some dirt roads. And I said, but we have dirt roads in the back roads of Mississippi and Tennessee and South Carolina. I was looking at this and I said, I will never allow someone to think for me again. And that's when this whole movement started. And that's what as we're talking, and you have that movement in you.
Yeah.
That's what I see. So for your culture and your people,
Yeah.
they'll listen to you more so than they'll listen to me, because I'm the outsider coming in. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The truth of the matter
I don't know what I'm the,
if you talk about religion, I'll go fight you.
yeah, okay.
If you talk about the fact that they have something and they should look again, and that not everywhere as they see it. It's not movie. Movie is script, you know?
Yeah, it's a script. It's a script.
But they will fight you that. If you talk against the colonizer, they will fight you.
Really?
Yes. It's conditioning.
Well, I mean, I do know that, because I when I was in Kenya, and I was really kind of surprised and saddened at the same time. There were so many people who defended the British and told me to go home.
Yeah.
They told me to go home,
Yeah.
but would welcome.
Sure.
They were like, "You go back," and I'm like, "Y'all don't see what's happening here. You don't understand."
But when they will agree with you is when you say that leaders are corrupt.
That'll be the. But
Africa is not developed.
yes.
They will agree with you. Our head system.
Or argue with each other about who's more developed under the European system. That's yeah, we are the best, here because we have all of this development. And they'll start running down all these statistics, talking about how good they are. And I'm like, you're still an agent of white supremacy, because you're now propping up their standard while putting down. I heard people in other countries, that Ghana, they're not as developed as we are because of this, that, and the other. And I'm saying, listen to yourself.
Do you even have to?
Dude, listen to what you're saying out of your mouth.
We're not the same people.
That's what I'm saying. It's like you're putting down these artificial borders, and you're lifting up your imperial system over another imperial system, and everybody's dealing with the same thing. And I'm telling you, would argue when I was down in South Africa, and I went to an informal development. Some people call them shanty towns. They're basically areas that the West would call impoverished, and people with a Western mentality. So I'll put that together. So the West and a Western mentality. I took my camera as an invitation by the community. And I said, tell your story. I said, because you've had the Europeans exploit these places for money to try to raise money and paint a picture of Africa as one-sided. So I said to myself, well, let's let them tell their story. So I went and let the camera roll. And do you know that there were people who were upset because I went into this community and allowed these people to tell their story. And they came on that page and they were so angry. And why did you go there? Why did you go there? And I'm saying to myself, well, so what was I supposed to do? Tell the people I couldn't go there because they were poor according to Western standards? So
I want others to see that.
The twisting of the mind was so sad. I was saddened by it. It was sad.
This is Jafric Radio.
It was so sad because they couldn't even see the wealth that the people had within that community. To your point about what that gentleman saw. So there were so many people who were trying to now lift themselves up according to white standards.
Yeah.
Without even being able to see the mind game. So to your point about identity, so then now they're like, why don't you show this side of us? Why don't you show this? I was like, well, if you looked at all the videos I did, I done gave all the white development, all the props that I could give it. I said, but what about they don't have a voice too? And they would never answer that question. And then other people were like, well, I understand because we want the world to see us. why are we concerned about how the world sees us? How do we see ourselves?
Right.
And if you see yourself as strong, no matter where you live, you're going to be proud. You're going to say, well, if I'm living in this informal development, I'm proud about what we have. It's clean. It's Go ahead.
Exactly. See, there are a lot of guys, young people living in Accra in kiosks,
Okay.
boxes.
Okay.
And a lot of them would have lands,
Mm.
hectares in their village,
Okay.
but they want to come to Accra and sell in the street. Why?
You tell me.
Think
Okay.
that the land that they have,
It's
they can
worthless.
do something on it. It's nothing. Now
Wow.
tell me, if a family has, let's say, 100-acre land, would you say that family is poor?
No.
The World Bank and all those guys will come here and say that the Africans live on $1 a day. How much is working?
Ah.
You see that?
Yeah.
So it's the judgment to what you're saying. It's the judgment. It's how we are trying to use one particular people as the standard. It's like saying that, oh, the world's billionaire list, if you look at it, but if somebody has a house which is 200,000 cedis here, what do you want to convert it to dollar?
You
Do we
got it.
spend dollar here?
Right.
Is
right.
the dollar our standard? If in America, do you spend cedi?
No.
Or again,
Can't even
in
get them
America,
to
we
do
say that I make $5,000 here. And if I compare it to Ghana, it's like the minister's pay. No, but you don't spend cedi there. So don't convert it.
Right.
You spend dollars, so
Yeah.
use it dollar. How much and what does that 5,000 buy in America? How's your worth there?
Yeah.
Stop comparing that, because here, really, remove the sign before it because it has the same value.
So, and when you, I mean, these are conversations that a lot of people don't have because they are in survival mode. And in them being in survival mode, they're trying to live each day. So to have a video like this for someone to be able to say, hey, check this out real quick and really understand how deep this thing goes. All right. We've talked about the problems. One thing I do want to touch on before we move to some of the solutions again, and we have touched on some solutions. When I was having a conversation in Tanzania with the gentleman about the cussing Black Americans and everything, I told him, I said, that's one side of the story. I said, that side is true. We do have that side in some parts of our culture. But then there's another side they don't show. All of the families that are thriving, all of the people who are breaking these mental constructs. Oh yeah, they're growing, developing, building, millionaires, billionaires, and they don't put that on the movies. And so that's part, for me, what I try to do with this channel is to share a different narrative. And the same thing is happening in Ghana and in South Africa and in Kenya and in Tanzania, that you have people, families who are building businesses like what you're doing.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that a lot of people don't realize. How many retail locations now? This is what I want y'all to understand who we're really sitting here talking to. His mindset changed, and so now it's led to a thriving business and businesses.
Yeah.
And he's an author. So tell me about your retail locations, your real estate company, and what all you've been doing.
So with my wife, Marie, we have about 12 outlets.
Really?
Yes, in the malls in Ghana.
You know what they would say? They would call that in America, y'all rolling. Y'all are rolling. Yeah, that's how y'all rolling. Y'all got 12 outlets. Let me find out.
And we built them from ground.
Really?
Yes, that's right.
So what do you sell in the retail outlets?
We make bags.
Okay.
Make slippers, make beads.
So accessories.
It's a fashion accessory.
Okay, fashion accessories. And so you have 12 outlets. You're in Accra Mall, ANC Mall, all the different malls. Are you in West Hills as well?
Yes, sir.
Oh, wow. So, wow.
In Kumasi as well.
And Kumasi as well. So you have 12 outlets. You also do real estate development.
Yes, we build apartments and rent them.
You do that for yourself or you do that for others?
We just build it for ourselves.
For yourselves?
Yes.
So you've learned residual, obviously that's...
So we have a lot of units that we have rented. Some in Kumasi, some in Accra.
Really?
Yes, and we built them, not with bank loan.
Without loans. See why he said that real fast. He said that real, see how, because you know.
No, ourselves. Why? I'm saying that because a lot of our young people who live outside the country don't see the positive in our country.
That you could take advantage of all of this development.
But it's the mental state. You really have to come to a state of thinking. You cannot become it until you think like that.
Yeah.
You have to get there. But if you think that you are nothing, then you will never be able to build it.
You need to, this is what I hope to see for you. That you mentor people. Yes, absolutely.
We have a radio program that we've been doing for the last 2 years on Peace FM.
Okay.
We have put out a lot of content, and it's like you see the dry sponge put in water.
Just how's the response been?
It's massive.
Have you ever done a live event
Live event.
where people come and hear you speak?
Some few churches that have.
This is Jafric Radio.
But a lot of the times I tell them go to the YouTube channel.
Okay.
And some of them will send you a message. It's massive, both within and without. Both.
I was gonna say this is not just Ghana. This is Africa wide.
I have gentlemen, old men, who call me and say that, listen, everybody around me will tell me don't go to Ghana. It's not good. But when I listen to you guys, I say no, let me go.
Yeah.
And they are building. We have talked about race development, personal development, the essence of you learning as an African, financial knowledge, because these are things that they should have put in our school.
But you are one of the ones who will be the trailblazer for. Go ahead.
So we've dealt with critical thinking, systems thinking, things like that. So we come to a stage, you say that, listen, I have a media company, but I'll be able to build it. Why should I leave this and go and do something else somewhere where they don't even have any respect for me? So, and the hopelessness, you have to deal with the hopelessness. Say that in our economy, we don't have a lot of factories. So when you come out of the university, very few of you will get a job. The rest is go and start something and be proud of it. It will work eventually, and it blows up too. And you'll be worth more than if you have ever worked for, somebody. And the beginning is tough. Nobody's saying it's not tough. But then the more importantly is the thought processes that you build. And that's what we have used. And so if somebody talks about anything, we really don't listen to them.
Right.
And we are not waiting for God to do it for us. No, not at all.
You're not sitting in the back corner.
The difference is this.
He created you, so if you've been created, you're right. Right.
There are a lot of people who don't believe in God who are running the world.
I know, right? That's what.
And they are telling us that God will do it. How come those guys were able to do it?
Right.
So it's not God doing it, it's us.
Yeah.
But somebody would have to tell us those stories to make us believe.
And to make us passive.
It is God.
And that makes us passive.
That's right. So the poverty will continue so long as you wait for God.
One thing I've noticed is that wherever I see extreme poverty, I see extreme religion. And with that being the case, it speaks volumes to me. I would have never thought that, but it's the same way really in America too. Unless you're dealing with, I don't even want to say a prosperity type situation, a prosperity religion, because even there you still see the poverty too. You'll have a few people,
Very high.
right? Yeah, because you can get a few people to get a little bit of something, but then the majority are still dealing with
This is Jafric Radio.
the perception of lack of economic resources. I say that because, to your point about the people who don't, you have atheists, agnostics, whatever, they run the world.
Yes.
They have more money than the wealthiest pastor or whatever, rabbi, more money than all of them, but they run the world. But yet everyone in many of those places, and I guess it kind of goes to the point of when you see the missionaries come in. Now when I see a missionary, the thoughts that I have are like it's like, you still got your hood thoughts. You got your hood thoughts. But I'll say it in the clean version. I'll say it in the clean, get out of here. I'll leave out the other words that I've been thinking at the same time. But I don't even, then I saw the Black Mormons. And the Black Mormon situation is about the most off-the-wall thing I've ever seen in my life. I was like, now how does a black person become a Mormon of all things? A Mormon, y'all, a Mormon. Anyway, that's a whole other conversation. But I see this stuff, and I say to myself, the toxic religion has done such a job on us. And I shared in another video, I spent so many years in that world. And I feel like the only thing I'm ashamed of in my life, I've made a lot of mistakes and done some off-the-wall things that most people would be ashamed of. The only thing I'm ashamed of is how many years I spent in the religious system leading people down a road. I was like,
because the seed that they planted, some people want to separate, they say that there were merchants and there were priests and from the Europeans. I say they all the same.
They're all the same.
They came in the same ship,
They all came in the same goal.
Different. How come their gospel could not change the merchants?
Right.
And the enslavers?
Right.
So it's the same thing. They work from different angles.
Yeah.
Some would have to come and claim us and make us believe. You see, one thing that puts a lot of fear in the African is what happens after life.
Yeah.
And that, a lot of people will put up with pain just because of wanting to go to heaven. And that's why the religion continues to maltreat our people. And it's obvious. if it's absent of love, kindness, compassion,
Right.
truth,
That's
then you are not teaching the gospel
Yes.
as there. So these people could not have brought the so-called gospel.
No, they couldn't have brought. No, couldn't have.
So the same bad seed has germinated into a lot of big trees that we find it difficult.
Well, did you see the video with the elderly lady in Africa? It was right after Easter resurrection time, and and it wasn't just her. It were other people that had the little fake Jesus, white Jesus thing laying down, and they were rubbing it and crying over, oh Jesus, oh
We
Jesus.
still do it here.
But I saw it in Egypt. I saw it.
Some of them will be used white man.
That's what I'm saying. I couldn't. For me, I've seen it over my lifetime, but to understand and to see people really embracing that image on the ground and rubbing
Our
it.
only reference is the Bible.
Okay.
Our most potent reference is the Bible. As if there were no other document outside the Bible.
Oh, no, but a lot of people don't believe that. A lot of people.
So if your only authority reference is the Bible, then there's not much you don't know
And the white person's interpretation of it.
of it. And for most Africans, you dare not question the Bible. But a lot of principles like love, kindness, kingdom were there before the Bible.
Yeah.
Okay? Jesus was taught,
Yeah.
but the Bible was not there. It was taught,
Yes.
not as the Bible as we have it, isn't it?
And it's modified over the years.
How about my grandparents, my great-great-grandparents who never had contact with the Bible? Were they killing themselves? Were they sleeping with other people? Were those not the word of God?
Yeah.
So there are a lot of content outside that. And once you make people believe that this is all there is, then they cannot develop.
Because think about
Then they
it.
cannot build industries. Then they cannot build businesses, because then the understanding is that God will do it for them. And that's the gospel that they have preached to us. So they put chain on your hand and they say that pray to God. The same person who is put chain on your hand is telling you about God. So if God can liberate you, so the same thing. You can teach people God to enslave them, and that's what has happened to us. And currently, it's also going on.
Wow.
Because you're teaching the people, you will prosper. But what do they know about finance? How do they use their time? What decisions do they make about their money? What knowledge do they get? If you want to build anything, it's this one. It's the mind. Anything that you build is the mind. Don't tell me about me. You want to build Ghana, and you say we should pray. It's not prayer. Ghana is building a cathedral now, and Ghana is going to IMF.
Yeah.
If God is the one responsible for the economy, and you're building a cathedral, why are you going to IMF?
Well, I saw.
And the economic situation shows how you manage your resources. So it's personal. Even in the personal environment, how your money is personally shows how you manage your resources. If the company is going down, how do you make your money decisions? So you can't change your finances until your financial knowledge is up and your financial discipline is very up. And most of these people in churches have no clue of any financial decisions whatsoever. We just work, get money, go and buy a land. Work, get
This
money,
is
buy a
Jeffrey
car.
And go give money to the church.
To church.
And give
And
money
say
to the
that
church.
if you pay tithe, God will bless you.
Right.
I don't have problem giving money after
Right.
all those
Sure,
life.
sure.
I used to play in church.
Oh yeah.
Chorister.
Oh, you play you.
Yeah, the keyboard.
Oh yeah, I play too.
Play with the pastor.
Well, you gotta sit down. All right.
But if you tell people bring money, that God will make you rich, you are deceiving them. It's like you telling them that bring money, God will buff you.
It's a spiritual lottery.
It's not true. And you and the one who's taking lotto or Sakawa boys,
Yeah.
you're the same. Because you teach people.
Yeah.
This is how you teach. A farmer must know how to farm.
Yeah.
You want to be wealthy, you must know how to become wealthy.
Yeah.
And obviously the 20-year, 30-year gospel that they have preached in Africa, you see the results.
I see the results.
That's right. The Chinese come here, he doesn't go to church.
No, he worked.
employ a lot of
He
people.
worked 7 days, 18 days a week. I have an extra few days in there.
So I think it's the teaching.
It
And,
is,
if the teaching is wrong, the people will suffer.
and I see it in America.
And if you put American visa there and they will go, you are failed. It means that they don't even have belief in wherever that they've been planted. If they want to go and look at and have an excursion and go back, then there's no problem. But if they so believe that they cannot be successful here, you are failed.
Well, I'm looking at this bag over here, and I know that. Let me see it real quick, because I know there's some goodies in here. I want to. Well, first of all, I want everybody to know exactly about the books that Obeng Darko has, and you've written 3 books here. Well, the 3 that we have: Perspective, Streamline, and Resilience. And this ties into everything that we've talked about today. And it's so important. If you are ready to change your mindset, change your life, then you're going to have to be proactive with doing it because nobody else is going to do it for you. That's the one lesson I've learned in my journey, that no one's going to come and change my mindset for me. Nobody's going to turn my life around. I might get some help along the way, but it's going to begin with me on the inside. And with me on the inside, I had to fuel myself with information. I had to decipher the information and I had to apply the information. And once I began to apply the information, that's when the transformation came. And so here's some resources right here based out of Ghana that you can take advantage of, and they can get this from anywhere. It's available in your stores, of course.
And on Amazon as well.
And on Amazon for all the folks that have Amazon access. But then we have here some of your items from your retail store. And so what's the name of your store?
MV.
MV. And so if you're looking to pick up items, if you're coming to Ghana, make sure you stop by Accra Mall, West Hills Mall, ANC Mall. You have 12 locations. Do you have a website where people can see?
Yes.
But right here, like this bag that has the Kente design. I guess it's Kente? Yeah, Kente design. And so this is something that you can have. You can wear it like a pouch. Like if you're traveling and you want to keep your passport and your money with you, this is perfect for that. It has a clip on right here. And it can make sure that your items are always on your person. Obviously, you have accessories like a purse, bag. You have the shoulder strap that comes with it. And so I feel like I'm on one of those channels right now. But this is you like that, right? To Marie. But this is something that you can have. These are some of the designs that you can have when you come to Ghana, and make sure that you. This is like a wallet, I guess, of sorts, where you can keep your items, your money, your cards, anything, small items you can have. And again, all of these are available right here at MV in Ghana and in Accra and Kumasi.
We have online shop as well, mv.com.gh.
MV, that letter M is in
V and V.
So give me a Ghanaian name starts with an M.
Like Mansa.
Mansa. Yeah. So M is in Mansa, V is in
V. I don't think the alphabet have V.
Okay, they don't. Okay, the Ghanaian alphabet doesn't have a V, so V is in V. mv.com GH.
.gh.
So it's mv.com.gh if you want to order online. But here's another pouch that you can wear on your waist, you can carry on your person, and this is good where you can put small items in. And then obviously you have some other beads in here. I mean, y'all got a lot going on in here. Let me find out. Accessories, so if you want to wear, you can put this on just like this. See how easy that I slip that on?
Jafric Radio.
You can put this and you can wear it like that. And you can, multiple ones, you can wear it at the same time. And obviously this bag, it has a strap on it and you can carry everything. So you saw everything that I had right here. This is all a part of it. And this is one of the things that we do by bridging the gap, by letting people know what you're doing. You're a living example. That's the one thing I know. And I love to have people on this show that are living examples and people, others, they can follow. Right now we're talking about this, but what your message is so much broader, and the entire continent of Africa needs it. I'm just happy to be able to get this interview early in the process because I know where he's going with it. It's like I can look back and tell folks that, see, I had him on the show before he blew up, before he blew up. But I appreciate these discussions because they're so needed. I appreciate your wisdom because all of us need to hear this. And the continent of Africa, Ghana, those of us who are part of the African diaspora need to be able to hear this, because what it does, every time we have a discussion, it chips away at the narratives that others are trying to create for us. We're telling our own stories. We have a Ghanaian film crew here in Ghana. When I was in Tanzania, I had a Tanzanian film crew because I believe in coming back. And if we're going to elevate, if we're going to idolize the American dollar, then we're going to bring some of that back here and be able to transfer that into the CD so people can have these experiences and see that we can work together. And it's not just...
And the thing is that the world virtually treats us the same, and we have common heritage in a way anyhow.
Yes.
And we must as well see that even if you say, like the gentleman, the musician that you talked about, the fact is that the more informed you are, the farther you be from such a position.
Yeah.
Even if you don't want to be in Africa, no problem.
Yeah.
Don't get up and say that, why do you want to go there?
Yeah. But his generation, He's 82. And my aunts who would be around that similar age range shared a similar sentiment. And that's one of the reasons why we were raised under that. And so, although many baby boomers did a lot for the generations that came after them, well, in America in particular, they did a lot, but at the same time, they did us an incredible disservice, meaning those people with that mindset, those who didn't have that mindset, then they didn't. I'm referring to the people who had that mindset and pushed it and projected it onto us. They did us an incredible disservice. That while they thought they were helping us, they were holding us back. Because what I say all the time, me coming to travel across Africa in 17 different countries is what sparked the interest in me wanting to learn more about my heritage in America. And I know that my ancestors in America did not bleed and die and march. They wanted me to have opportunities. So when I get that passport, I take this passport all over the world. I'm able to do things that they weren't able to do. So I honor them by coming here and not just going to Europe. I honor them by coming here and learning part of the story that they might not have even known. So it's no disrespect to them. It's actually honoring all of the ancestors who came down through that line.
This is Jafric Radio.
To say, you know what? We're back. And while we're educating one another, things that they couldn't do, now we're able to do. And so I'll always sing this song and elevate my brothers and sisters on this continent, as well as my brothers and sisters in America and in South America and other parts of the African diaspora, because we have a common history and a common thread. And as we begin to learn more about each other, someone else does not control our narratives. And then when we hear all these negative things, we can say, yeah, some of that might be true, but I have this other story to counteract that. So I'm here talking to Obeng Darko in Accra, Ghana. And make sure that you check out, he and his wife Marie, they have retail outlets called mv.com.gh. Make sure you stop by their online store, but then also stop by, if you're in Ghana, make sure when you're spending your money, be sure to stop by their stores, and I'm sure they would appreciate it. So this, again, these are some of the items that you saw me share earlier. Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Jay, thank you very much. And for the advertisement, it's free.
That's right. That's how we do it. That's how we do it.
We appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
All that you do for us. Thank you very much. And to any young man who lives in Ghana or who lives outside Ghana, switch the mind from the negativity. Switch the mind. The wealth, the kind of prosperity, the kind of humanity that we have. Don't switch it off. Because the world is Africa anyway. And the future is Africa. And even the present. You move around East Lagos, you move around a lot of places in Ghana now. Most foreigners are doing big farms here.
Yes, they are.
And the Ghanaians are in America, young guys say that I will never go to Ghana. You deceive yourself. By the time you come here, you see that you're not the richest. And you're not even the happiest.
Wow.
You know, life cannot be sweeter than the one that you have on the continent. And that where you eat, speak, and cherish what you have. And even if you don't want to come, be that positive about it.
All right, we're here talking to Obeng Darko. You know how we do here at Maximum Impact. We're bridging the gap, telling our stories, telling it through our eyes, controlling the narrative. And all I want you to do is make sure that you like, subscribe, share. Make sure that you check out some of our upcoming travel adventures to Ghana and other places on the continent of Africa. And continue to empower yourself with knowledge on your own and not allowing someone else to dictate to you who you are, how you should think, and what you should do, because you have the ability to do that yourself. So until next time, take care, be safe, subscribe, like, share. Maximum Impact with Jay Cameron.
Jafric Radio, your #1 online radio station based in Japan. Hi, my name is The Laboratory, an international flutist from Ghana. I urge you all to listen to Jafric Radio station based in Japan. Jafric Radio, radio mu papa. Jafric Radio, radio mu kiko. Jafric Radio, yeah mamu kasi bopa. Jafric Radio. Jafric Radio, yeah mamu kasi papa. Jafric Radio, yeah mamu adiswa papa. Jafric Radio. Jafric Radio, your number one online radio station based in Japan. Jafric Radio, Radio Mukiko, Jafric Radio. Yamamu Kasia Bopa, Jafric Radio.
Why? It's an African one. Yeah.
Beats by Amateur.
Yeah, me I like it. Something so. This my African hands, them gon' love you. Yeah. My African lips, them gon' kiss you. Whoa. My African hips get down for you. Whoa. My African legs, them gon' run to you. Whether you come here to break dance, I think you come here to shake hands. You come here to make plans. Never would it reach as motherland. Whether you come here to rock West, yo, I be not to find good, oh. Everything they yo.
This is Jafric Radio.
Anywhere you go, London, USA, nowhere be like Africa, nowhere be like home. Anywhere you go, New York, Chicago, nowhere be like Africa, nowhere be like home. Biko eruya wayo, wayaka, karibu kiti, utapewa nini? Ayayaya, weruya wayo, wayaka, karibu kiti, utapewa nini?
This my African artists will love you. This my African arms, they will squeeze you. Yeah. My African ears will listen to you. My Kenyan legs will run to you. Yeah. Na kama umekuja ku break dance, umekuja ku get down, umekuja ku take chance, hakuna matata eh. Kama umekuja kulipa la kupiga dance yo, hapo ulipo kata kiuno yo. Anywhere you go, London, USA, nowhere be like Africa, nowhere be like home. Anywhere you go, New York, Chicago, nowhere be like Africa, nowhere be like home.
Biko eruya wayo, wayaka, karibu kiti, utapewa nini? Ayayaya, weruya wayo, wayaka, karibu kiti, utapewa nini? Lele. It's an African one. Get me a latte. Soldier come, soldier go. Your home now, your home. Irreplaceable. Anywhere you go. London,
Jafric
USA.
Radio, your number one online radio station based in Japan. Jafric Radio, Radio Mukiko, Jafric Radio. Yamamu Kasia Bopa, Jafric Radio.